I'm Dan Hope, joined by Andy Anders. We are here in Irving, Texas, just outside of Dallas, and tomorrow we will be in Arlington, Texas at AT&T Stadium for this year's edition of the Cotton Bowl, where Ohio State will play its final game of the 2023 season against Missouri. And Andy, it's been an eventful week here. We talked to Ryan Day and Eli Drinkwitz on Thursday, talked to a bunch of Ohio State players and assistant coaches on Tuesday and Wednesday. What's just the general vibe you're feeling around this game as we're about 24 hours out now?
Well, it's a really important one to both teams, Dan. I think Ohio State, there's a real motivation there to close the season the right way. I think that's reflected in the lack of opt-outs we've seen. I haven't had any confirmed ones yet. Marvin Harrison Jr. hasn't been practicing, so we don't necessarily expect him to play. But everyone else, Tate Stover has said he's playing through his knee injury, maybe in a limited role, but still giving it a go. Tommy Eichenberg's up in the air. Other than that, this team is prepared and ready to give it its best shot to hoist a Cotton Bowl trophy up at the end of this season and try to right some of the wrongs of losing that game up north on November 25th. So, it's been really interesting to hear this, and also the preparation for the future, right? That's the other half of this game. Seeing your younger guys come back, hearing guys talk about their NFL draft decisions. A lot of interesting storylines heading into this one for Ohio State.
And I think there's no bigger storyline heading into this game than Devin Brown making his first career start. He will be the first Ohio State quarterback ever to make his first career start in the bowl game. And we joked about it on the podcast. You could use an Eminem lyric to describe what this game means to Devin Brown. You've got one shot, one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted. And it does feel that way for Devin Brown, as this could be really his opportunity to win the starting quarterback job for next season. If he doesn't perform well in this game, I think it's safe to say there's going to be an open competition for next year. Maybe Ohio State even brings in a transfer quarterback. But if he can go out and perform well in this game, he can establish himself as the front runner for next year's starting job. He's not going to be named the starter until sometime next year, but you kind of think back to Dwayne Haskins in the Michigan game 5 years ago and how that ultimately propelled him to be the starting quarterback in 2018. You feel like if Devin Brown can have that kind of performance in the Cotton Bowl, he can make it his job to lose going into next year.
Right, and we've heard coaches, players, everyone express a lot of confidence in Devin throughout his process preparing to take over the starting job in this game for Kyle McCord, who's transferred out. He is going to be throwing to at least one, probably two new receivers, though. You talk about Julian Fleming transferring, entering the portal, leading Ohio State's program, and as we stated, Marvin Harrison Jr. appears likely to opt out, not confirmed yet. But Carnell Tate is a guy that we have heard glowing things about. He's going to get his opportunity, especially if both those guys are out. Probably if just Julian is out, he's an outside receiver where the safety Johnson plays the slot. So a guy that has been said to have a pro approach. That's the thing 3 or 4 different people have said about Carnell. Denzel Burke said, mark my words, he will be the next first rounder out of here after Marvin and Mecca. So there's going to be a lot of hype around Carnell Tate entering this game, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how he and Devin Brown click, and obviously Devin with his other weapons, Mecca, Xavier Johnson, whoever else factors in.
Lots of talk about Ohio State's offense, but I think Ohio State's defense is going to ultimately be what wins or loses this game for the Buckeyes. You look at Missouri's offense, they might be the best offense Ohio State has faced all year. They've got a fantastic wide receiver in Luther Burden, one of the best running backs in the country in Cody Schrader, a really good quarterback in Brady Cook who can do some damage with both his arm and his legs. And so Ohio State's defense, obviously a disappointing second half against Michigan, where Ohio State was not able to stop Michigan from scoring on any of its 4 full drives in that half. I think this is an opportunity for this Ohio State defense to bounce back. And if Ohio State, you look at the stats, they're great, but if Ohio State wants to come out of this season really able to establish itself as one of the best defenses in the country, it needs to have a good showing in this game.
Right, and they could get a lot of pieces back next year, too. That's something else we're seeing as we've talked to guys about their NFL draft decisions. Denzel Burke really seems to be weighing he's got a decision. He is going to announce it on January 10th. But he talked about, there is a real desire, a real pull for him to come back. Jack Sawyer said he is more than likely going to return next year. and talked about how the 2021 class, the recruiting class of 2021, as a collective for Ohio State, is kind of pulled together and, talk to each other in this decision-making process, figuring out what next year could look like if they get a lot of guys back. That's something that could make for a really special defense next year if they get a lot of guys back. Obviously, though, it starts with building momentum in this game because, this game, as we stated on the podcast, is going to shape a lot of the legacy of how this defense is viewed. Had a great year all year up until the Michigan game, really the second half of the Michigan game. You've got to go out there and prove that you were that elite caliber defense against a pretty elite Missouri offense.
I think we're both expecting a competitive game here. I do think Ohio State's going to win the game, though. 2 years ago, I picked against Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. That proved to be the wrong pick. I think Ohio State's motivated enough, and I think they really don't want to end the season with 2 straight losses. So I think Ohio State finds a way to get it done. I've got the Buckeyes winning 27-24. What say you?
I got 31-24 Ohio State. A lot of the same reasons you said. I think Devin Brown's going to take some time to get settled into this game, but once he does, they'll be able to make enough plays with those weapons. The defense, while Missouri makes some plays with the great players they have, the defense plays well enough to keep Ohio State in it early and then allow them to take that lead late. And, as I said, I pick Ohio State by a touchdown in this one, 31-24.
We've got all the Cotton Bowl stories you need to read on 11warriors.com. Lots more to come tomorrow on game day and throughout the weekend. So if you want to read about Ohio State's matchup with Missouri, go to 11warriors.com, and we'll see you from AT&T Stadium.